What's up, squash players? Today I want to tell you about an experience I had trying some demo rackets from Squash Galaxy here in the US. Yes, that's right, demo program. You can get 2 rackets for 25 bucks and they ship you those and you can test them out for a week and send them back. They send you a return label and so you can try out some rackets before you buy them, and if you, I think, go on to buy them, I think you get a $10 discount. So it's worth checking out a couple of rackets if you're interested in a racket and you want to just hit with it before you take the plunge. And you can add a 3rd racket onto your demo for an extra $5. Or even if you try this particular range, the Tecnifibre Dynergy range, you can just get that thrown in for free. I don't know if they have extra stock in this or what, but they are trying to get you to try this racket, so try it out. Anyway, I tried the Tecnifibre Dynergy APX 120, the head Graphene 360 plus, speed 135, and the head Graphene speed 120 slim body. We're gonna do a separate review of this one. I liked it so much that I already bought myself one. It's in this box, so we're gonna play with this for longer and do a more full review of this one and see where it slots in with my favorite rackets. But it's pretty sweet. So I'm not gonna talk about this one in this video too much. But I am gonna talk about these two because what we have here, we had a little competition. Which of these 2 rackets is the more powerful racket? Question. I thought going into it that it would probably be the head racket. Partly because of this racket you can get strung 2 ways. There's the traditional way, like this, straight up and out, and then you can also get a fan stringing pattern. It has this so-called adaptive fan pattern, I think it's called. But you have to restring the racket to get the fan pattern, and I had forgotten about that. You know, the pictures that this racket has as its stock photos have it in the fan pattern, but actually I think the default from the factory is this traditional method. So I just tested it like this so that you, if you were going to go out and buy this racket, you would. This is to tell you how powerful it is right out of the factory compared to the Tecnifibre. Now this racket has been around for a while. It's a little bit of the kind of unloved 3rd racket in the Tecnifibre range. You got the Carboflex, which is like all the pros use the Carboflex now. All the top juniors that are using Tecnifibre use the Carboflex. And then you've got a couple of players there's one player using the Supreme curve, which is like a traditional head shape. I think Mustafa Asal uses that, and like Nelly Gillis used to use this, and Fares Dasuki maybe, but it really hasn't gotten a lot of love in the at the pro level, and also not at the amateur level, I have to say. So I wasn't thinking that this was gonna come out as my favorite, but let's see what I have to say about it. Okay, first of all, on the stringing pattern, this has a little bit more open stringing pattern. I think it's 12 by 17, the head, and the Tecnifibre is 14 by 18. I like the stringing pattern to be a little more dense, so that gave me a little bit of a check mark in the Tecnifibre corner right away. The frames have a very similar kind of style. First of all, the head shapes are pretty much identical. They're both thick frames. You can see they're very similar, and in terms of weight, this is a 120 and this is a 135, but actually on my scale with everything, those are the frame weights, the advertised weights, but once you put in the strings and the grip and whatever, and I put them on my scale, and also there's a little bit of bumper tape on here from Squash Galaxy. I guess maybe there was some prior users maybe have scraped the wall or who knows what. What was I trying to say? Oh, the weights. So actually this all in was 156 grams, 156 and a half, and this was 155. So they're pretty much feel identical in my hand. And actually the Tecnifibre, although it's only a gram heavier, it feels a little heavier. Oops, I forgot to put them on my balance beam. I'll be right back. Yeah, the Tecnifibre has a 37 centimeter balance point, which is pretty head heavy. The head has a 35 centimeter balance point. That is quite head light. That is quite head light. And I find if you're looking for power, a little head heaviness really helps, because you want to feel like the racket, the leading edge of the racket, the top edge of the racket kind of is carving out your shot. You don't want to have to necessarily do it all with technique. You want the racket to kind of help glide you through the shot. And so with the head, because of that head lightness, I wasn't even expecting it to be so light, but it was. You have to provide that some of that kind of power with your technique. So for that, I give the edge in terms of the balance to the Tecnifibre. Now, one more thing. I mentioned the frames are both about pretty chunky in the same manner, but the Tecnifibre has a much thicker shaft in this direction, as you can see. And also it has this little thing that they call arch power. I don't know if you remember the old version of this. It had like a kind of, it was like trying to be like the Prince rackets where it was looped around. Now they've just gone with this little arch, and I think, I mean, in my hand, the Tecnifibre just feels more sturdy. It feels more sturdy, and I attribute that to the thickness of the shaft here, and that little arch just gives a little bit more structure to the throat. So if you hit something, no matter where you hit it, you're just getting a little, the racket's just a little holding together a little bit better. It feels a little more sturdy, essentially. So on that measure, I give the edge to the Tecnifibre, also so far dominating proceedings. The strings, I liked them both. This Tecnifibre comes with the what is it called? X1 biphase, and the head has the head reflex string. I've tested these strings separately and liked them both. I may have a slight preference for the Tecnifibre, but honestly, they're both pretty good. I think let's call this one a draw on the strings. So all in all, power-wise, this was just, the Tecnifibre was just better. It was just better. I'm gonna have to update my list of best squash rackets to mark this as the most powerful racket. This is still a good option. This is still a good option, especially if you go for the fan-shaped stringing pattern. So, still powerful. Not saying you're not powerful. You're okay. You're okay. But Tecnifibre, I'm sorry, you just won this power battle. Now, what about some of the intangible? What about the touch? Like, how, you know, aside from the power, how were these rackets? And I kind of thought going into it, man, I really did not give the Tecnifibre enough of a much chance. I really thought he was going to feel bulky. I thought he was going to feel a little bulky. And honestly, it was great. It was great. They both were. They both had good touch. Like I said, this one's a little bit head lighter, so you have to make sure you follow through. You can't just let the racket do the work. You got to follow through with this one. But we got good results from them both. The point is that if you pick this racket because you want power, you aren't gonna suffer, you know, a loss of control. It's still a very good overall racket that it doesn't get its due, even for me, but I've changed. Tecnifibre, Dynergy, APX, I have changed. I love you now. So that's it for me today. The power battle was won by the Tecnifibre. I'll be back with some more reviews soon. I'll see you guys later. Subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.